Thank you for taking time out here. This is Sean Johnston from Omaha, Nebraska, and Monty Tilsner from Orange City, Iowa, bringing you Great Plains Athletic Conference training tape number one. So, Monty, after taking a look at the games in the GPAC and really games around the nation, what trends have you seen this year with new rules and new mechanics?
Yeah, there were, the new rule with feigning the injury came into play, week 0. And, Shaw already put something on his training tape about it. But, that's one that we talked about as a crew that if we see that that guy is injured, um, we're going to point at him. And if we point at him and acknowledge he's injured and then we put the ball down, we're not going to charge him a timeout. So, that's that situation where you can see the guy limping or whatever the case may be, but he doesn't go down till after the ball's put down. That's a way that we can, because that's really not what the rule is intended for. So, um, but yeah, there's a lot of good games, a lot of good plays that came as a result in that week 0 and week 1.
All right. Yeah, I know in this training tape we also have a clip with the new T signal ruling as well. So with that being said, play number one, we have a fake punt, then a pass, and a flag is thrown for defensive pass interference. So Monty, you want to talk about sort of the intent of this rule, 738C4, of not getting a quote unquote cheap defensive pass interference call.
Yeah, so I don't know what year the rule if first went into place, but what happened was a team, snapped it all the way back to their kicker, and then he threw high and deep like it was a punt, and then the Gunners obviously get grabbed, right? And then they got a defensive pass interference call. So then they implemented the rule, and um, there's a little bit of interpretation here, especially on this one, because this pass is definitely has a little more loop on it than probably a normal pass would if it goes 20 yards downfield. But this gunner here on the outside is trying to get free, definitely gets grabbed, and ends up going down the ground, and we have a pass going to him. So they did throw on this, and I can't remember, Sean, looking in quick ref, did they pick it up or did they leave it down for DPI?
You want to, they kept it down for DPI.
Okay. So, yeah, this is one with the rule. We would want to pick this up, and it might be one where we throw it and we do pick it up after talking about it. But the rule talks about um, that when there's contact by a Team B player that otherwise would be pass interference during a down in which Team A potential kicker from scrimmage kick formation simulates a scrimmage kick by throwing the ball high and deep. So this is not, they don't snap it all the way back to that potential kicker. However, they're definitely using deception and taking advantage of the situation of scrimmage kick formation, throwing the ball, to a receiver who's basically getting jammed at that line. So this is one we would like to talk about and pick up. So coaches, obviously, you need to know this is one you're not going to be able to put in your playbook.
Yeah, and with that said, the coaches watching this as the season goes, we get creative, we get inventive, we see plays from previous years. If there's any questions on the legality of a trick play, please reach out to myself and explain the play. If you even have a video of a play being used somewhere else, it might have been legal a few years back and it might be illegal now. But it's better to ask the questions before you put it in play and then maybe not get the result that you were looking for. The next play here, we have the new rule T signal. We're going to see a receiver near the goal line give the signal, which is an invalid signal, and then touches the ground. Why is that so important to know that the ball is now grounded after that invalid signal?
Yeah, so remember once that ball's grounded, first of all, he can't give a signal. If he gives even a what would be a normal valid signal, it's invalid when the ball's grounded. But once this ball is grounded, he no longer gets protection. And also that ball is going to be is going to be dead and placed where he picks it up. They're not going to get the 25-yard line. So this ball was, after crew discussion, I believe, was properly placed at the 1-yard line.
Yes, the crew nailed this new rule. So the T signal invalid. Had he caught it before it hit the ground, he would still have been given possession of the ball at the 25. But now it's grounded. Now they have lost the 25, and they're going to gain possession right there. And they cannot advance it after an invalid signal. So that's a good example of what a T signal looks like and the application of the new rule. So job well done there with the crew. Third play, we're going to talk a little bit about defensive movement and what is a legal stem, even though it's not a big legal stem, versus entering the neutral zone, simulating the snap. So we're going to take a look at number 97 here. His first initial movement is fluid, is slow, goes lateral right there, completely legal. And then he pumps forward into the neutral zone, causing the defensive reaction. So another thing to talk about here, Monty, we have two flags on the play, and rightfully so, two flags on the play. So ideally, what do you think should happen here as a crew when we have two flags on the play, one by the line of scrimmage, one by the umpire?
Yeah, first of all, uh, umpires flagging the movement by the offense only. Umpire can never flag the defender getting into the neutral zone unless he actually makes contact, which he doesn't here. But the umpire is flagging movement by the center and maybe the guard there as well. But when we have two flags, we can't give a preliminary. So I don't know if our umpire didn't notice the second flag here right away because he starts to give a preliminary. I mean, then he realizes it and holds off, and then they come together and talk, which is what we want. So we need to talk about it because line of scrimmage, you know, he may have that guy in the neutral zone. He may not have the guy in the neutral zone, and then he just has the offensive reaction. But remember too, they get protection head up and one position over. So this nose guard. Um, the center and both guards on this play are protected by any movement by that nose guard. So he actually has three players who get protection from him. If he moves into that neutral zone, if any of those three move as a result, then that's going to be put on the defense. And referees, make sure you, in your announcement, you say offside defense entering the neutral zone, causing a reaction by the offense, because that explains to everybody why it's a DOF and it's not a false start.
Well
The
done.
stemming aspect too, we talked about this a long time in our pregame. What we're really looking at for it to be a defensive stemming is for an exaggerated motion by the arms. The feet going sideways are definitely okay. But if we like the feet just go front to back, like you're riding a bike kind of, but they don't move laterally, that's a problem. But if they move laterally with their feet, but their arms are doing a very exaggerated, very quick movement, almost like, running in fate in running in just running in place at like, Mach 10 with your hands. That's what we're looking for a defensive stem. But this was a good movement by the defense. He just ended up getting into the neutral zone then, which caused the problem.
Yep. All right, our next play, a very well officiated play. The snapper is actually trying to get to the second level, and then the defensive lineman holds and I believe takes down the center from preventing him to go to the second level. So this is a heads up call by the umpire here, and noticing this, Monty, any tips of recognizing how an offensive lineman is trying to get to the second level and get off that block versus they're trying to remain at that first level.
Yeah, so I've talked to some of our umpires about this, and what they look for is when they can see that offensive player, he's not trying to block. He's really maybe getting a chip off of that guy, if that, but he's really trying to get to that second level because his blocking assignment is to get to that linebacker and seal him off. So if you recognize that he's not blocking this guy, he's trying to get past this guy. If he gets even with the guy and then gets, pulled to the side or pulled backwards. In this case, it's almost like a reverse takedown. He's like, okay, well, I'm not going to let you get there, so I'm just going to pull you down over the top of me. And, very good pickup by our umpire here. And that's what we want to be looking at as an umpire because we're going to see more and more of this defensive holding at the line of scrimmage like this. So, very good pickup.
Yeah, and another note, it's not a big deal now, but that's great flag mechanics. He doesn't throw it at the player, he throws it at the spot of the foul, and we're not throwing flags at players. So good flag mechanics as well. All right, offensive holding. All right, so we've heard a lot. Offensive holding, if it doesn't affect the play, let's not throw the flag. And a lot of times we say, well, if it doesn't affect the play, we mean it doesn't gain, the offense didn't gain yards, so no harm, no foul. All right, this is another play where it does affect the play, even though they didn't gain yards, it prevented the loss of yards. So let's key this up here. It's going to be exterior hold, perimeter hold. And this defender right now could probably be at that ball carrier for 5 yard loss. But that offensive hold prevents that. So is there a threshold of how many yards of loss versus how many yards of gain that you have heard, Monty?
Not really. I just think, kind of a little bit of common sense. If he can stuff him for, 2 or 3 yard loss or more, then we probably want to put a flag down. This is different also in the fact that this is not a hold that put him into the tackle. If it did, he got that tackle a lot later, like, than he would have, like what Sean said. So if you think about it, this is a first down play. If they stuff him, even 2 to 3 yards back, and you ask that coach, hey, do you want second and 12 or 13, or do you want first and 20? Depending on the where that ball position is in the field, they might take this, especially if it's going to be a, second 14 or 15, there's a good chance they might take that instead of backing them up 10 yards. So
All right, so another example of affecting the play, also preventing that yards loss is affecting the play as well in offensive holding. Pretty cool play, goal line catch, touchdown. Monty, I know as a deep wing, you love these. These are the money plays for deep wings. So as we're playing this through, sort of talk about mechanics. Where are your eyes at different parts of this catch, no catch, and touchdown, no touchdown? But pre-snap, we got to get all personnel back away from this white line beyond the restricted line. So they should be behind the dotted line, behind the soccer field line, really. And deep wings help with this. Line of scrimmage has a lot going on. You could help clear the sideline for this short wing. So, Monty, I'll let you take it away here.
yeah. So first of all, like you said, those are ball boys. Um, we don't even allow them inside the 10. So I had a ball boy at the 6 yard line when I was at the pylon to start a play and noticed him a little late. Right after that play, I went to him and just asked him, hey, just go to the 10 yard line, be back behind the restraining line. We know where you're at, but we probably won't need a ball. If we do, we can get it from you. But we want to be able to get to, we should be standing basically where that kid in the white is, but even a little further back. When we diagonal back as a short wing, get to that back of the white, even that back restraining line. So you got some good distance and you're safe back there. And then, yeah, we always want to watch feet ball. So if you run it, you can see. we end up giving up the goal line extended, which is what we never want to do. So we do a good job of getting there, but then instead of going straight back, and the reason probably why we didn't go straight back is because that the guy in the white shirt was standing there. So if he's not there, you could went straight back, and then you can officiate that play a little better because you need to see, where his feet are, and where that ball is in relation to that goal line pylon, which we talked about on one of our preseason videos. So I think we probably got the call right that he was short, but we can sell a lot better, and we're gonna have a lot better, look ourselves and be safer if we're goal line extended back there, right where that kid in the white shirt, right where he's at right now, is where you should be that entire play.
And I'm not sure if we have yeah, we do have a look at it at the end zone angle here.
So remember, if he reaches out and touches that pylon with the ball, we know that's an easy one. That's a touchdown. And if he loops it inside that pylon, then we would have a touchdown. Or if it goes over the top of the pylon, it looks like he reaches and then he gets hit and gets driven back, and that ball probably doesn't quite reach it. So then remember, it's going to be if we do not have a touchdown, we're spotting that ball at the point that it crossed the sideline, which in this play is probably about 6, 8 inches short because he's trying to reach for it and then gets driven back. But I think a pretty good spot there by our official. We
Yeah,
can just handle a little better mechanically and be a little safer.
very good. All right, we have a play. We're going to go to the end zone angle here. The end zone angle has the best look at the two blindside blocks, and then after the play, a UNS for taunting. But we just had a meeting with the referees, and it's not abnormal that officials miss free kick fouls early in the season. Yes, officials are out there scrimmaging. Yes, they're getting snaps and reps. However, there's not a lot of special teams, full cover, full contact reps. So we really got to use these games here in the first week to learn. We got to have that focus. We got to have that discipline of where do our eyes need to be during a free kick, full coverage, full contact.
Yeah. So the biggest thing with these blindside blocks is when they start running sideways, we got to open our vision. We need to see someone who's going um, a direction that's perpendicular to the players trying to make the tackle. Here's our first one here. Gets a little bit blocked, but you can see definitely coming from the side, and he definitely gets enough of that guy that that's a foul. All right, so that would be one that probably be picked up, could be picked up by a variety of officials actually. Um, if I don't know if it's our side judge at the top there, but our side judge and our back judge. Um, but either one of those officials could pick it up. Referee, remember you're opening up your vision, and the referee I believe he was transitioning off of something. Didn't see the contact in this one, but the referee got the unsportsmanlike for the taunting part. Now that's one where again we could have a few different officials who could see that. That's a vicious block. That's one, we're lucky we don't have a player who's injured. And then he goes after him and taunts him. So if you get number 52 for the illegal blindside block, you got a second one there for that taunt. So that's gonna be two flags, two
And then
separate fouls.
And then the last philosophy talk on this one, when in doubt, the UNS live ball versus dead ball, make it a dead ball foul. So
Yeah.
we could have had a 15-yard blindside block, 15-yard penalty from the spot of the foul after the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, half the distance to the goal. That's 52's first unsportsmanlike conduct of the game. All right, so when in doubt, make the unsportsmanlike conduct a dead ball foul.
Yep. If we can get those both to be enforced, we want to do so.
All right, illegal formation. Yes, we will give special teams warnings. Yes, we will give tackles warnings. But we can't have players lined up 2 yards off the ball and give a warning. So if they're 2 yards off, no warning is given, illegal formation, and they still have quote unquote the warning in the bag. Is that not correct?
Yes. Yep. They get one per position group.
Hmm.
So, I mean, you can see here, you've got four back there. You got three on the shield and the punter. So this guy on the end, who's even further back, yeah, him. I mean, there's no way you can even think about putting him on the line of scrimmage. So they've got five in the backfield right there. But even if he would be up with those other two, with that guard and tackle on the left side, I mean, that's for sure a warn, if not a foul. That's pretty tough to even sell as a warning. But if it's early in the game, sure, give him a warning. But you can't because of that guy in the end. He's way too far back.
Yeah. So again, officials, if you're black and white, you're looking for direction. 2 yards off, you don't need a warning. Helmet touching the butt, give the that position team a warning and get them up on the line of scrimmage. All right, this was a review from this previous week. The ruling on the field was no fumble, and then after review, it was overturned to a fumble and immediate recovery by the defense. So as we're going through this, Monty, you've been working with different camera angles, not just two camera angles. What's the best advice that you could give the refereeing the script underneath, taking a look at two different camera angles and matching up the timing of it?
Yeah, so if you're on one of those games where you've got two and they're synced up, um, then take advantage of that because on this one would be a good one to you'd be able to if you could sync these up, you could see, here that the knee is not down, but you don't have a good look at the ball. But on the end zone view is where you get a good look at the ball. So first of all, we do a good job of not coming off the goal line too early. The problem is the wing definitely was not able to see the ball. He was shielded from the ball. So when that's the case, just extremely slow whistles. And then we hopefully could have prevented that. But here's the one you can see for sure the ball's out. And if you sync that up with the other one where you can see there's no way that his knee's down, then we know we have a fumble. And then remember, we still need that recovery, in the immediate action. So good mechanics, whistle mechanics are what we need to work on because we're shielded right now. So just don't blow your whistle. Just have it out and wait till you are sure that you see leather. And if that whistle comes from the other side of the field, that's fine. But this is what was it? At least we were able to get it reversed. But we're not always going to have where we've got a good enough look to be able to reverse it. So we want to try to get them right on the field when we can.
Yeah, and the body part, I'm looking if they aren't perfectly synced. So it was the ripping of the elbow that I was able to see on both angles. When that elbow was ripped, I have the knee off the ground. And then on the other angle, when that elbow was up and ripped, I have the ball loose. And then sort of as Monty was saying, line of scrimmage official, this is our signal. And it'd be hard to be pressed to see that official saw the Brown in possession the whole entire down. So patient whistle, rather be late than early, especially if you do not see the Brown. All right, on this one, this was our first eight of the season. Eights are great. We have identical numbers, fourth down and two. And Monty, are there any tricks or tips on how to get these correct live on the field?
I've tried to put in my pre-snap routine to get a count. It's not easy to see them all the time, but yeah, try to get in your pre-snap routine. You're almost always going to get help from the sidelines, which is a good thing. But yeah, it's got to be in your pre-snap routine because you got to get it really early.
And the only enforcement if 5 yards previous spot. So the crew correctly enforced this. So that gave the kicking team 5 yards and it resulted in a first down. And officials, when you do get the help from the sidelines, All right. Don't just assume they are correct. Make sure you find those two numbers. And even if you after the end of the play, keep all 11 players on the field and double check, look for the identical numbers there as well before they run off the field. All right, this is our last play of the training tape. Roughing the passer. We had quite a few roughing the passers for week one. And we sort of want to give the information and direction. When in doubt, we are having our referees throw the flag for roughing the passer. We are putting it on the defense to show the referee that the defender is doing something to let off, take away, slow down, change their path to avoid that attacking, punishing contact of the vulnerable position of a passer after they throw the ball. So on this one, the best angle is actually from the end zone. So, Monty, what could this player have done differently to avoid roughing the passer?
Yeah, well, the thing is, these athletes in the GPAC are extremely athletic. They can stop, they can slow down, and they can change direction on a dime. This guy could have totally avoided this contact, and instead he decides he's going to punish the quarterback. And I heard a very good podcast by Carl Sheffers, an NFL 20-year veteran NFL referee, recently, and he talked about this exact type of push down of a quarterback. This was a crunch with the shoulder, but when they are late and they just push him down forcibly, he'll say, "Well, how many times does the guy get a sack by pushing the quarterback? If you're going to sack the quarterback, you don't push him, you wrap him up." So this is a more punishing blow than that. But even if it's late and they push him with two hands to the ground, all they're trying to do is get that quarterback and apply enough force to get him on the ground where he can maybe get injured because that's not how they try to get a sack. So, we know how athletic you guys are, which means you can change direction, you can slow down, you can be stopping, and you can be letting up on that contact. You can't drill a guy and then put your hands up in the air like you didn't do anything.
Yep. And officials, we all know the starting quarterback is the best quarterback on that team, and we want to do everything we can to keep them safe, and having them play throughout the whole entire season. And we're going to protect all the quarterbacks the same, not because they're a quarterback, but they are a player in a vulnerable position a lot of times when they're making plays. So defenders, show the officials you are doing a football wrap-up action tackle without punishing and attacking the opposing quarterback because we're going to protect your quarterbacks the same way. Monty, I appreciate you joining us today for week one training tape. Look forward to bringing you training tape number two next week. And not only the plays in the Great Plains Athletic Conference, but some plays from the national level that could help better understand new rules, new mechanics, and philosophies of NCAA football. Any final words before ending this training tape?
Just really work on having great pre-games throughout the season, but especially early on. They're going to be a little longer because we got more things to cover just to make sure that we, are properly prepared. Keep working
All right.
hard.
Thanks again, Monty. And officials, remember, we're only as good as our last call.